Journey Through Time, a Visita Iglesia Heritage Tour in Cavite. The sun had just begun to rise as we set off on a spiritual and historical journey, a Visita Iglesia through Cavite, a province rich in faith and history. With each church we visited, we discovered not just places of worship, but silent witnesses to the country's past, standing resilient through centuries of devotion and change. St. Michael the Archangel Parish, Bacoor. Our journey began in Bacoor, Cavite, at the St. Michael Archangel Parish, a church built in 1791 that has long been the heart of the town. Its Baroque-style architecture, with thick stone walls and arched windows, spoke of the Spanish colonial influence that shaped many churches in the Philippines. This church also holds a deeper historical significance. Father Mariano Gomez, one of the martyred priests of Comburza, once served as its parish priest. As we stepped inside, we imagined the revolutionaries who once walked these very grounds. Bacoor played a vital role in the Philippine Revolution, even becoming the de facto capital of the First Philippine Republic in 1898. Standing at the crossroads of faith and history, this church set the perfect tone for the day ahead. Before moving on, we stopped by the original digman, Halo-Halo, a short walk from the church. With its layers of sweetened beans, makapuno, ube, and leche flan, this local delicacy was not just a treat. It was a taste of Bacoor's culinary heritage. The Diocesan Shrine and Parish of Our Lady of the Pilar, Imus Cathedral. A short drive brought us to Imus Cathedral, the Diocesan Shrine and Parish of Our Lady of the Pilar, a grand structure that had stood since 1823. With its neo-Baroque architecture, towering bell tower, and solemn interiors, the cathedral radiated both elegance and strength. But beyond its beauty, it held a deeper significance. Just outside its walls, in 1896, the historic Battle of Imus took place, marking one of the first major victories of Filipino revolutionaries against the Spanish forces. We stood in the quiet of the church, thinking about how this place had seen both prayers and battles, hope and struggle. Today, it remains a beacon of faith, especially during the feast of Our Lady of the Pilar every October 12, when thousands of devotees gather to celebrate. St. Mary Magdalene Parish, Kawit. From Imus, we made our way to Kawit, home to the St. Mary Magdalene Parish, a church that has stood since the 1600s. Its simple yet enduring Baroque-style architecture held a quiet charm, but what made it truly special was its place in history. This was where Emilio Aguinaldo, the first president of the Philippines, was baptized in 1869. Inside the church still houses its original 17th century retablo, a beautifully preserved altar that has witnessed centuries of devotion. It was humbling to stand in a place that had been part of the story of the nation's freedom. Every July 22, the town comes alive for the Feast of St. Mary Magdalene, a celebration that, like the church itself, is steeped in tradition. Before continuing our journey, we stopped for lunch at Calle Real, a heritage restaurant set in an ancestral home. The flavors of Spanish, Filipino dishes, rich in tradition, added another layer to our exploration of the province's history. The Diocesan Shrine of St. Augustine and Parish of the Holy Cross, Tanza. By midday, we arrive in Tanza, where the Diocesan Shrine of St. Augustine and Parish of the Holy Cross awaited. Built in the 1780s, this church Baroque facade and sturdy stone walls carried the weight of history. But one event set it apart from all the others we had visited so far. This was where Emilio Aguinaldo and other leaders of the revolution took their oath of office in 1897, forming the first Philippine government. It was awe-inspiring to imagine that within these walls, some of the most important figures in the country's history had pledged their loyalty to the nation. However, we noticed that the church is currently undergoing renovation, though not a faithful restoration of the original structure. While efforts are being made to preserve its function, some historical elements risk being altered or lost. As we stepped out, we couldn't help but reflect on the deep connection between faith and patriotism, how the two were inseparable in Cavite's history. St. Francis of Assisi Parish, General Trias. With a full heart and a satisfied appetite, we traveled to General Trias, where the St. Francis of Assisi Parish stood in quiet majesty. Dating back to the 1600s, this church's intricate Baroque facade and towering bell tower gave it a regal presence. This town, once known as San Francisco de Malabon, played a key role in the revolution, and it was here that General Mariano Trias was elected Vice President of the First Philippine Republic. As we stepped inside, the grandeur of the high ceilings and gilded altar filled us with a sense of peace. It was easy to see why. For centuries, people had come here to seek refuge and guidance. Every October 4, the town celebrates the Feast of St. Francis, keeping alive traditions that have lasted for generations. San Gregorio Magno Parish, Indang. Our next stop took us to the quiet town of Indang, home to the San Gregorio Magno Parish. Built in the early 1600s, this church, with its thick stone walls and high vaulted ceilings, exuded a timeless beauty. During the Philippine Revolution, Indang became a stronghold for Filipino forces, and this church served as a place of refuge and strategy. Out of all the churches we visited, this one had the most calming and peaceful atmosphere. There was something about its quiet surroundings and the soft light filtering through its windows that made it feel truly relaxing, a stark contrast to its revolutionary past. A mesmerizing cascade of light streamed through its stained glass windows, further enhancing the feeling of holiness and serenity. Today, its serene presence stands in contrast to the struggles once waged within its walls. Every September 3, devotees gather here to celebrate the feast of Saint Gregory the Great, carrying on a legacy of faith and unity that has endured for centuries. Before moving on, we made a brief stop to experience one of Indang's beloved delicacies, Kalamay Buna. This sweet, glutinous rice treat, carefully prepared by generations of artisans, offered a small yet meaningful taste of the town's heritage. With that, we resumed our Visita Iglesia, carrying with us not just memories of the church history walls, but also a deeper appreciation for the traditions that continue to thrive in Cavite. Diocesan Shrine of Nuestra Señora de Candelaria, Silang. As the sun began to set, we arrived at my final destination, the Diocesan Shrine of Nuestra Señora de Candelaria in Silang. One of the oldest Marian shrines in Cavite, this church, built in the 1600s, is known for its magnificent Baroque-style architecture, wooden doors carved with intricate details, and a gilded altar dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Inside, the church preserved its 3 original retablos, intricate wooden altar pieces that showcase the fine craftsmanship of the Spanish colonial era. The main retablo, a towering gilded structure, houses the image of Nuestra Señora de Candelaria, surrounded by elaborate carvings and religious icons. However, the original ivory image was lost during the Philippine-American War, and the one venerated today is a faithful replica, continuing the town's deep devotion to its patroness. Flanking it are 2 smaller retablos, each adorned with delicate floral and scrollwork motifs, reflecting the artistic traditions of the period. Recognizing its historical and artistic value, the church, convent, and retablos were declared National Cultural Treasures in 2016, cementing their place among the country's most significant heritage sites. The shrine remains a center of devotion, especially during the feast of Nuestra Señora de Candelaria on February 2, when the town comes alive with grand processions and centuries-old traditions in honor of the Virgin Mary. As we stood in the candlelit glow of the church, surrounded by the beauty of its sacred art, we felt a deep sense of peace, the perfect way to end my journey. As we made our way home, we reflected on the day's journey. Each church had told a different story of faith, resilience, revolution, and tradition. Through centuries-old stone walls, sacred altars, and historic events, we had not just visited churches, we had walked through history itself. Cavite's Visita Iglesia is more than just a Lenten tradition. It is a pilgrimage through time, a journey that reminds us of the enduring power of faith and the rich heritage that shapes our nation. It is also a reminder of our ancestors' sacrifices, courage, and love for country, a legacy built on unwavering devotion and unyielding spirit. As we stand in the sacred spaces, may we remember their struggles and begin to love our country as much as they did. And as long as these churches stand, so too will the stories they hold, waiting for the next traveler to uncover them.